It's that wonderful time of year where we can get out all of our pumpkin spice and everything nice. And today I'm coming in with some really cute colorwork granny pumpkins. These are super fun to work up and they are not difficult. This is a pretty simple colorwork with some easy stitches. The granny stitches are fun to work with. And today we have two different sizes to choose from. I have this larger pumpkin, and then we can make the smaller pumpkins, and no matter which size you choose, you also get to choose which design you want on here. I've also included in the ad-free PDF pattern some charts if you want to plot out and color on some paper to decide how you want to do your pumpkin theme this year. If you want to try doing different colors and seeing how that would look, or even if you wanted to mix it up and use more than one color on here, you could do a different color for this second repeat. Now to get started today, you'll want to grab some yarn. I have lots of different yarn colors here. This is my color B. So for each pumpkin I'm going to show you, we're going to have a color A, and my color A is going to be Moonbeam, and then choose a color B. These are just some colors that I have that I thought looked really fun and fall, and I'll be working with a color A and one of the color B today. Then you'll want a 4mm crochet hook, a tapestry needle to weave in the ends, a cinnamon stick for the top if you want, some ribbon if you want to add a bow to it, and of course some scissors to fasten off those ends. Now, a stitch marker is also always a great idea if you want to mark the beginning of your round. And then lastly, I bought these 10 by 12 pouches. I think they are great. They're just really thin drawstring pouches. And this is what I'm using inside these pumpkins because they are granny stitch. Granny stitch, you know, by the way that it is, it has some holes in it, and this will keep your stuffing really nice on the inside without coming out through our stitches. Even though this is a tighter granny stitch that we're doing with a 4mm, we don't want our stuffing to fuzz out of the pumpkin over time. So I got these to simply place inside of the pumpkin and then fill it with fiber fill. So you will also need some fiber fill or yarn scraps to stuff the pumpkin. So let's go ahead and get started. Now this pumpkin is worked in the round, and we're going to start by working an increasing section, so the bottom of the pumpkin. We're almost making like a bowl. I have included in the ad-free PDF a chart of all of these sections, including this one. We will start with a magic circle, and I like to do a slip stitch to get that started. And we're going to be working 12 double crochets into this magic circle, but we're going to start with what's called a stacked single crochet. We're going to insert our hook into the magic circle, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through both of the loops on the hook. Yes, we just did a single crochet stitch, but we're going to go back into that left bar there, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through two. And it's always a good idea, if you're not used to stacked single crochets, to mark the top of this stitch. The closest marker I have is a monster, but that's okay. We're going to mark the top of that stitch. That way we don't work into the one around the edge, and we know where we started our very first stitch. Next, we are going to do double crochets into the ring. We're going to do 11 of them. So that means we'll have a total of 12 stitches at the end of this round. Now, once you have worked the 12 double crochet stitches, including that stacked single crochet we started with, we can close this ring. And I close it tighter later, but for now it's fine. And then we are going to join to the very first stitch of this row with a slip stitch. So we're just going to join to the top of that stacked single crochet with a slip stitch and then turn our work. Now our next step is going to be to work between these double crochet stitches. So we're not working into the tops like we normally do, we're working between them. So I'm going to go to this very first space, and we are going to do a stacked single crochet into that very first space. And once again, mark that stitch. And now we're going to do another double crochet into that same space. And now in our next space between the next two stitches, so instead of working the top, we're going to work in between those two double crochet stitches. We're going to do 2 double crochets. And that's what we're going to continue to do all the way around. So we're going to do 2 double crochets between every single stitch all the way around, and at the end of round 2 we will have a total of 24 stitches. Now at the end of round 2 we can move that stitch marker and we will slip stitch to the top of the stacked single crochet. So we're joining and turning. And now we're going to be working 3 double crochet stitches between those 2 double crochet groups. We'll start with this very first space by doing a stacked single crochet. And then 2 more double crochet stitches into that same space. And then we will do 3 double crochets between the next set of double crochets. And that's what we will continue to do all the way around. So we'll do 3 double crochets between the sets of 2 double crochets from the round below. Now at the end of round 3, we have a total of 36 stitches and 12 granny groups. So we're going to join to the top of that stacked single crochet and then turn our work. Now for round 4, we're going to be doing some increasing again. We'll do it a little bit differently this time. We're going to start by doing a stacked single crochet into that very first space. And now we're going to do 3 more double crochets into that same space. So we have a group of 4 double crochets together in that first one. Now we're going to do 3 double crochets into the next space. And this next part is how we're going to repeat around. So we'll do 4 double crochets into the next space and 3 into the next after that. And that will be our repeat around. So we'll just keep doing that. I'll do 4 double crochets into the next space and 3 into this next space after that. At the end of this round, we will have a total of 12 granny groups still, but we have more stitches. So we have a total of 42 stitches. So now we're going to join for the end of round 4, and we're going to turn for round 5. We're going to start round 5 by doing a stacked single crochet into the first space and 2 more double crochet stitches into that same space. And then for this round, and this is going to apply to every increasing round, we are going to do 3 double crochets into this next space. And then this is how we're going to increase with these 4 double crochets. We're going to go right into the center of the 4 double crochets, so between the 2 on each side, and we will do 3 double crochet stitches. And then we're going to go right into that next space and do 3 double crochet. And then we'll work in the next space, but whenever we come to one of the 4 double crochet groups, we're going to work right in the center between the 2 on each side. And we'll work that all the way around. Now at the end of round 5, you will have 58 stitches and 18 granny groups. Now for round 6, we will turn our work, and starting in that first space, we will do a stacked single crochet. And then since we are going to be increasing again, we are going to do 3 double crochets also into that first space. So that'll be 4 stitches in that first space. And then we are going to do 3 double crochets into each of the next 2 spaces. And then in the next space, we will do 4 double crochets. And then we will do 3 double crochets into each of the next 2 spaces. And then we'll just repeat that around. So we'll do 4 double crochets into one space, 3 double crochets into each of the next 2, all the way around. And at the end of round 6, we will have 18 granny groups still, but 60 stitches. Now at the end of round 6, I'm going to join to the top of that stacked single crochet and turn my work. This is where we are going to stop for the size small in terms of increasing, and we're going to go to the next steps for color work. If you want to do the size large, there are 2 more rounds, and we're just going to increase in a similar way. So we'd be working the next round where we work in between each 4 double crochet stitch, and the round after that we would repeat this round, only we would start with 4 double crochets in the first space, and then we would work each of the next 3 spaces with 3 double crochets. So it's a similar pattern, and that is written in the pattern that's on the blog, as well as I have a chart in the ad-free PDF. Now, once you have the increasing part, the bottom of the pumpkin done, no matter what size you're doing, these colorwork instructions will work so similar. You might have a little bit of a different spacing between those 4 double crochets when it comes to this next step, but the instructions are all the same. There are 2 colorwork charts to work from, a big diamond and a small diamond. The same colorwork steps that I'm going to show you here apply to both, but I'm going to be doing the small diamonds just because it's a little bit trickier on this next row where we are starting colorwork while also working those 4 double crochets. So I want to show you how to do the small diamond. When you're doing the large diamond, the next round is quite easy because we're still working with our color A. So since we are moving on for the size small pumpkin and we are going to be working with our color B next, I actually undid, you'll notice I undid my stitch because I have a tip in this pattern that we'll be starting on the next round with our color B. So to change colors, on the last yarn over of the round, we're going to join our new color. This is also the wrong side of our work, so we want to keep all of our tail ends, all the tail ends that we have, on the wrong side of our work. So I'm going to join, leaving the tail end facing me. And the tail end of my working yarn, I'm also going to bring that to the front of my work because this is the wrong side of my work. Then we are going to slip stitch to the top of that stacked single crochet with our color B. Now we will turn our work, and this is where we are going to learn to do a little bit of granny color work. Now the very first space will start with a stacked single crochet and 2 double crochets into that same space. But we will be changing colors on that last yarn over. So this is our 3rd double crochet. We're going to bring up the color A and yarn over with the color A to complete that last stitch. And that way we are ready to work with our next color. We're going to drop our color B to the back of our work because this is the right side of our work, and we'll always keep that on the wrong side. And then we will do 3 double crochets into the very next stitch, next space. And now we're changing back to our color B again. So every single time we work a granny group, we'll be changing colors. And then in the next space, once again, we will do 3 double crochets. And we'll continue to do this all the way around, but the only tricky part about this round for this small diamond chart is this right here. So I'm changing back to that group, but we want to make sure when we come to these 4 double crochets on this previous round, we work in between them. So we're going to keep in that color work, but making sure those 4 double crochets get that granny group. Then we'll go back to our next color. And we are going to repeat this all the way around. So I'm working in between that last group of 4 double crochets, keeping in that color work. And now we are done with row 1 from the color work. and I'm keeping the color B. I changed back to the color B at the end of this round to join, because we are going to turn our work, and now we're simply going to be working this entire round with the color B. But I am going to leave the color A attached because I'll be using it on the next round, and I can just carry it up on the inside. So we'll start by doing a stacked single crochet and 2 double crochets into that first space. And then this is what I want to show you. As I'm working on the wrong side of my work, we can see all these floats. We don't want to pull them too tightly when we're switching yarn on the back of our work, but here they sit, and now we can tighten them down a little bit more and open up those spaces between those granny groups. So you're always going to go underneath all of your floats when you are working into that next space, and it pulls them up slightly and makes it really clean in terms of carrying your yarn and having it maintain the stitch pattern on the front without anything, you know, blocking these holes. We can't see our floats if we're tucking them in here. So whenever you're working all the way around on the wrong side of your work, always go underneath all the floats and work around them as you work those stitches. So I'm going to continue to work color B into every single space all the way around. All right, now at the end of round 2 of the colorwork portion, we're going to slip stitch to join. And then we're going to start our next row. We're going to bring back in the color A, but for the very first space for this color, we can go ahead and do a stack single crochet with the color B and 2 more double crochets. And then we will switch to our color A, and this is a repeat of row 1 essentially, but this time we're just working in spaces. We don't have to worry about those 4 double crochet spaces. So we're going to work this all the way around, and this is everything you need to know about doing the color work for this project. So we're just going to keep working the color work for the remaining rows. The row after this will be a solid color A, and then it will repeat again. And after we do the colorwork section, which is a total of 7 rows that I have marked in the pattern, whether you're doing this design or the larger diamond, the same techniques apply in terms of how to do that color work. And you just can pay attention to the chart or the written instructions for those rounds. And then we'll come back and we'll do the decreasing rounds for the top of the pumpkin. Now, after round 7, you can go ahead and fasten off the color B. Now, I'm also working on a large size at the moment, so I can show you how to start decreasing if you happen to be doing the large size. And then I'm going to go back to the small size and show you how to decrease as well. So when it comes to decreasing, we're going to be starting by doing a stacked single crochet into the very first stitch and 2 more double crochets into that same space. Now, because of how our rounds start and stop, I find it easiest to I've simply shifted the stitches in the way that we're going to decrease. I know when we increased, we would do our increase on that into that very first space with those 4 double crochets, but I've shifted it slightly to make it easier for when we join and turn. Now, this is where we're going to decrease. In the next space, we are simply going to double crochet 2. So we've taken away a stitch, but we haven't taken away a granny group yet, and we will on the next round. And then for the next 4 spaces, we are going to do 3 double crochet stitches. And then next, after doing the 2 double crochet in a space and then 3 double crochets into each of the next 4 spaces, we're simply going to repeat that around. So we'll do 2 double crochets into the next, and then we will do 3 double crochets into each of the next 4 spaces. Now we're going to repeat this around until we get to the last 4 spaces of this round. Now in the last 4 spaces, we'll do a 2 double crochet in the next, and then in the last 3 spaces, we will do 3 double crochets into each. Now we're going to join and turn for round 2 of the decreasing. And this is where we will actually see some decreasing. So we're going to start by doing a stacked single crochet into the first space, because on the previous round, we only decreased by 6 stitches, but we didn't decrease any granny groups. And on this round, we are going to. Now what we're going to do is we are going to do 3 double crochets into the spaces between the previous 3 double crochets until we come upon the double crochet 2 space. Now that our next area is this double crochet 2, we're actually going to be skipping the spaces on each side of that double crochet 2. So we're going to skip this space and we're going to skip this space, and we're going to go right into the center of that double crochet 2, and we'll do 3 double crochets. Make sure to skip that space right after it, and then we'll work in between the next set of granny groups until we get to our next 2 double crochet, where we will do the same way of decreasing. We'll repeat that all the way around, and this will decrease by 6 granny groups. We are going to turn our work, and for the smaller pumpkin, we will be starting these decreases on round 3. Round 1 and 2 were for the larger size only, and we're going to pick it up on round 3. So we'll start with a stacked single crochet, and then 2 double crochets into the same stitch, same space. And then in the next space, we are going to do our 2 double crochet. And then we will do 3 double crochets into each of the next 3 spaces. And that sequence is going to be our repeat around until we get to the last 3 spaces of this round. So we'll do a 2 double crochet into that next space, and then into the next 3 spaces we will do 3 double crochets, and repeat that around until the last 3 spaces of the round. Now that we are to the last 3 spaces of this round, we will do the next one as 2 double crochets into that space, and then the remaining 2 spaces will have 3 double crochets into each. And what this has done is it's taken our stitch count down to 66 stitches, but we still have 24 granny groups. Now for round 4 of the decreasing. This is where it will start to make a difference because we will be getting rid of some granny groups on this round. So we're going to start it the way that we normally do, doing a stacked single crochet and 2 double crochets into that same space. And then we are going to work the next space with 3 double crochets, but once again, just like we did on the large decreasing, when we come upon the 2 double crochets, we skip to the right and the left of it. Those spaces are completely skipped, and we work 3 double crochets into the center of that 2 double crochet. And we're going to repeat that all the way around. And at the end of this round, we will have a total of 54 stitches and 18 granny groups. Now when we get to the end of this round, we'll be working in the center of that 2 double crochet and then skipping the next, which means we go straight into joining. And then we're ready for our next round. We're going to be doing somewhat of a repeat of the last few. So we're going to start with a stacked single crochet and 2 double crochets into the same. And then we're going to do 2 double crochets into the next space. And then we will do 3 double crochets into each of the next 2 stitches. And that's going to be our repeat around. We're going to do 2 double crochets into the next space and then 3 double crochets into the next 2 spaces until the last 2 spaces of the round. And then when we get to the last 2 spaces of the round, we will do 2 double crochets into the next and 3 double crochets into the last. And then we're going to turn and work the round like we have following this style of decrease round before. So we're going to start a round with a stacked single crochet and 2 double crochets. And then we're going to go right into decreasing here. This one will decrease. Each one of these decreasing rounds, when we do it this way and we're decreasing granny groups, decreases them by 6 granny groups, which is what we will be doing here. We are going to go right in between that 2 double crochet skipping the spaces to the left and the right of it. And then we'll go in between the next one doing 3 double crochets. And then we're going to go right in between those 2 double crochets. And we're just going to keep repeating that until we get to the end of this round. And at the end of round 6, we'll have 36 stitches and 12 granny groups. Now after completing this round, this is where it's a good idea to grab our drawstring bag, and we're going to stick this inside. But what I like to do is push in each bottom corner. I feel like that shapes it a little bit better. And then simply stuff it inside and leave it just barely hanging over the edge. And then we can grab our fiber fill and begin to stuff this. Now you can kind of tuck in the top for this next round. We're still doing some crocheting here, so you just kind of tuck it in to get it out of the way. And now we are going to turn our work. And we are going to start with a stacked single crochet. And then we will do 1 more double crochet into that space. And then we are going to be working 2 double crochets into each space around. So we are decreasing this to a total of 24 stitches at the end of this round. Now we can join and turn our work. And if you want to keep stuffing this in between rounds, feel free. If you want to add a little bit more stuffing, it does get a bit tighter after this to add any more stuffing, but we still have some space. So I'm going to turn my work, start with a stacked single crochet. And then we're going to do 1 double crochet into each stitch around. And this is our last crochet round. Now, if you want to tighten this down before completing round 1 crocheting, you can. It has a little bit more space before joining. But I've worked my last round here, and my next steps are going to be to close the bag portion of this. So I'm going to stick my cinnamon stick inside here, so that, you know, it's going to be secured inside this drawstring as well, which is nice because it's like stuck in there by more than one means. And then we're simply going to pull that drawstring closed. And then that's nice and secure to that cinnamon stick. And you can give it a tie and then tuck it inside. Sometimes I'll move that cinnamon stick out for just a second and tuck it into the hole and then put that cinnamon stick right back in. Now the next thing we're going to do is fasten off the end, leaving a tail, because we're going to tighten this down a little bit and shape this. So grab your yarn needle and then place it onto your yarn needle. Now I went and found one that had a slightly sharper point than my previous, but this is still kind of dull, so it really does work even with a dull needle. Now we're going to be weaving through every top loop. I'm working in the back loop only, but I'm just going to weave through every single stitch, pulling that all the way around. And that's going to help close this and tighten it down. Now that I have worked this all the way around, I'm going to pull that opening closed around that cinnamon stick. And then we are going to weave around 1 more time is a good idea to really secure that cinnamon stick. And then we're going to shape this. So we're going to be shaping this by poking our needle all the way through our pumpkin, because we want the top center and the top bottom of this to come in a bit, to squish together to make that pumpkin shape. So we're going to take our needle and I'm just going to stick it right through the top. I'm going to push it through that canvas fabric all the way out the bottom, and then pull it through, and then weave through the bottom to the other side. So just kind of opposite of where you just came through. And now we're going to go right down there, and then we're going to come out the other side of the top of the pumpkin and pull that through. And now when we go ahead and pull our strand, it will tighten the top of that down to be a bit more shaped like a pumpkin. So it's pulling that in, and you can do that a couple more times on each side if you want to really shape it. Now I like to come out the bottom of this for my very last shaping and leave my tail end on the bottom and weave it in through the bottom, just to have it be a little bit less conspicuous. and then I'll fasten off. And lastly, if you want to tie a piece of burlap to it, you can tie it into a bow. This thicker one I'm just doing into a knot. And then you can even grab a piece of wheat or other cinnamon sticks and just adorn it. You can shove it in there and have it just be an extra little fun thing for your gorgeous pumpkin. I hope you love making these pumpkins as much as I do. I'm kind of addicted to them, and I want to make so many more in different color tones and colorways because it's a fun and quick project that will decorate my home all season long, and I can just envision different styles with the different colors, maybe even an ombre, who knows. Please be sure to hit that subscribe button and come back for some more fun projects soon.